You have just 3 seconds to capture your audience's attention online before they decide to stay and listen or to scroll on. Just 3 seconds. Make those seconds count. On a scale of 1 to 10, how effective do you think you are at holding the audience's attention online? If you present or attend online meetings, if you're an online creator, or trying to build your online business, this masterclass applies to you. If you've ever felt unsure if your audience is bored, disengaged, or underwhelmed, I'll share exactly why people tune out, and more importantly, how to bring them right back in. I'm Val Erickson, a public speaking nerd. I've studied and practiced it for over 25 years and taught people just like you from all over the globe, in person and online. When I first began public speaking, I was so nervous. I was certain the audience could literally hear my heart pounding out of my chest. I couldn't even remember my own name, even when I had it written down. I know that if I can go from paranoid to powerful, from bland to brilliant, so can you. In this masterclass, we'll break down the 5 common reasons why people stop listening during virtual presentations, and more importantly, give you actionable strategies for re-engaging them. By the end, you'll know how to spot signs of disengagement, prevent it, and get people fully tuned in for the entire session. I encourage you to grab a pen and paper or an electronic note app and jot down any diamond takeaways, any questions, and answers to the questions I'll be asking you during this masterclass. If you have any questions, absolutely email me at val@valerickson.com. I promise I try to respond to each and every one of the emails. Let's jump right in. What do you think is the number one reason people stop listening to online presenters? When people don't feel that the content applies to them, they tune out. If your audience doesn't see how what you're saying relates to their real world needs, they'll mentally disengage. Check out this re-engagement technique. Use real world examples. And the secret is to tie them back into their needs. Make your points feel relevant by sharing specific, relatable personal examples or case studies that resonate with their audience's experience, with their needs, with their pain point. A powerful phrase here is, "This applies to you if." It signals to the audience that what you're about to say has immediate relevance to their lives. Aim to address their common pain points, showing how your content directly meets their needs. Reason number 2, lack of visual engagement. Our brains crave variety, especially visual variety. In a virtual setting, if you're only using static slides with lots of text or one repetitive visual slide, people's eyes and their attention will naturally drift. Without something visually engaging, people just tend to disconnect. One re-engagement technique is to use dynamic visuals. Adding movement or changes to the visuals can be surprisingly effective. Use short video clips, live annotations, or even animated transitions will work. But when you switch from your slide deck to a live demo or whiteboard, for instance. It's a refreshing change that pulls people's eyes back to the screen. One secret is to introduce a new visual every 3 to 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be fancy, just different enough to re-engage your audience and keep their attention focused on you and less on their phone scrolling. And reason number 3, a monotone voice. Nothing drains attention faster than a flat, monotone voice. We've all been there, listening to a speaker with one tone that doesn't change no matter what they're saying. This signals subconsciously to the audience that nothing important is happening. And what happens? They check out, they stop paying attention. So how do you get them to tune back in? You add vocal variety, which comes in many different forms. Changing your pitch, your volume, the power behind your voice, and varying your pace helps create interest and communicates energy. If you suffer from public speaking anxiety, this is exactly the area where you can wrangle those nerves and use them to your advantage and to give your speech its energy. Channel those nerves into the energy and the power behind your voice. Try speaking louder or softer for emphasis, or try changing your pace. For example, when you reach an important point, slow down. Or for a key takeaway, lean in and lower your voice slightly. The contrast will naturally catch attention. Practicing vocal variety is especially important online where visual cues are limited. Speaking in person and speaking online varies in the amount of vocal variety that you need. More is needed online to achieve the same level of effectiveness that you're going to get in person. For example, if online I were to say, have you ever been presenting and noticed your audience slipping away? It's effective here, right? But if I was in person, it would probably look more like this. Have you ever been presenting and noticed your audience just slipping away? Do you see the difference? In the first, I was much more energetic and animated because I need to be when I'm online. But in the second example, I had a lot more pausing for effect because this works in an in-person room when you're making that contact visually and receiving their actions and contact back. In the second, it comes across online as lackluster. Reason number 4, lack of interaction. Visual presentations can feel isolating, and without interaction, people feel like passive viewers instead of participants. We want them to feel included. When people aren't engaged in some way, they're more likely to check emails, scroll through social media, check messages. So try this re-engagement technique. Ask questions, use the whiteboard, or use chat. A simple way to engage people online is to incorporate interactive elements like questions or use the polls. For instance, you might say, who here has experienced? And then your specific challenge. Type yes in the chat. This small interaction prompts people to re-engage. For larger groups, polls or multiple choice questions work very well. By involving them every 3 to 5 minutes, you keep them from slipping into passivity. It works online even through send me a message, send me an email, write down your questions, and send them to me.
Reason number 5, too much information too fast.
Our brains can only process so much at one time. When a presenter covers too much, too fast, the audience becomes overwhelmed. They try to keep up, but eventually they just check out. Think about the last time you sat through a presentation packed with data. How long were you able to stay focused? Here's the re-engagement technique. Pause and recap. This is a game changer. After delivering a major point, take a brief pause, then do a quick recap. For example, if you just explained a 3-step process, take a heartbeat pause and say, let's quickly go over those 3 steps again, and then list them. This recap allows people to catch up, refocus, and most importantly, absorb the information before you move on.
One of my clients felt that she lacked the wow factor and worried her audience left feeling underwhelmed. I put her through my process and challenged her to think and go deep. And she drilled it down and realized that she was giving way too much information in too short of time. I worked with her, and by the time we were done, her original 45-minute session, she had narrowed that focus, and that 45-minute session turned into 7 45-minute sessions. The feedback from her clients was immeasurable. The results, a much higher level of audience engagement, which led to an increase of sales. Let's recap. 5 reasons people stop listening and how to get them to tune back in. Number 5, too much information, too fast. Instead, pause and recap. Number 4, a lack of interaction. The solution, ask questions, use chat, polls, or emails. Number 3, using a monotone voice instead. Add variety, pitch, pace, pause, and power. Number 2, a lack of engagement. The solution is to incorporate dynamic slides and visuals. The number 1 reason for losing the audience's focus is the content feels irrelevant. The listener doesn't know fast enough why they should stay tuned in.
Here's some practical steps to keep your audience engaged. Step 1, start with a hook. For example, imagine you're in your last virtual meeting struggling to stay focused. Why do some presentations hold our attention while others lose us within seconds? By asking a question or sharing a surprising fact, you're giving people a reason to tune in from the start. Why does this work? A compelling hook, such as a story, question, or surprising fact, sets the tone and signals that the presentation will be engaging and worth their attention. Step 2, build in intentional pauses and recaps. After each major section or point, say something like, let's pause and recap, and then briefly go over what you've just covered. For instance, if you discuss a 3-step process, quickly summarize each step before moving on. Here's a pro tip. Pauses are powerful in virtual presentations because silence online feels amplified. Pausing not only gives your audience a chance to process, but it also creates a natural cue to refocus their attention. It's as if every pause says, here's something worth paying attention to. Step number 3, use interactive questions every 3 to 5 minutes. This is how you do it. Plan in advance where to place questions, polls, quick chats, prompts throughout your presentation. You might say, type yes if you encounter this challenge, or on a scale from 1 to 10, how often do you experience anxiety in public speaking? These prompts keep people engaged without needing to speak out loud, which can be helpful for very large audiences. Why this works? Because the brain is wired for engagement. When people participate, they feel a greater connection to the content and then to you as the speaker. In a virtual setting, it's more challenging, so engaging questions help break the isolation and remind people that they're just not a body behind a screen, but they're part of an interactive session. Step number 4, use micro stories. How to prepare. Prepare brief, relevant stories for each point to illustrate its impact. For example, if you're discussing the importance of, in this case, say, vocal variety, share a quick anecdote about a speaker who used a monotone voice and lost their audience, contrasting it with one who used vocal variety effectively. Why does this work? Stories resonate deeply because they add a human element to your points, making the information easier to remember. Little micro stories or anecdotes are especially powerful online, where the distance between the speaker and the audience can feel vast, but it's actually very, very close. Storytelling bridges that gap, bringing the audience back into the fold. Step number 5, end with a powerful call to action or reflection. For example, as you wrap up, invite your audience to take a moment to jot down a specific change they'll make based on what they've learned. You might say something like this. Let's take 30 seconds to note one thing you'll do differently in your next virtual presentation to keep your audience engaged. This is why it works. A call to action anchors, roots the learning, creating a sense of completion and giving your audience a tangible step forward. When people leave with a plan or an insight, they're more likely to view your presentation as valuable. Virtual presentations can feel challenging because you're fighting against screens, distractions, shortened attention spans. But understanding why people check out and having the right strategies to bring them back gives you a powerful advantage. Remember, every pause, every story, every visual choice is a tool to create a lasting connection with your audience.
I invite you to take 30 seconds and write down one diamond takeaway that you'll do differently in your next presentation. Write it out, post it, commit to it. Then send me an email and let me know what you implemented and how it turned out.
Virtual presentations are here to stay, and now you have the tools to stand out. Every time you present, think of these 5 common reasons that people lose attention and how to re-engage them. You'll keep your audience tuned in, interested, and most importantly, listening until the very end.